I recently became aware of this article that was put out by Harvard, their School of Education, and I believe it came out in 2023. In this article, they do this really great deep dive and exploration into the historical significance of report cards, and it kind of helps you understand why report cards are the way they are today, and why for some of us as adults, report cards kind of give us this very icky feeling today. And so, after reading this, you walk away understanding that historically speaking, since their inception, report cards have actually been tied more to societal implications than they are an indicator of actual academic learning. And one of the best examples of that is behavior management. And so in reading this article, you start to understand that report cards came into place in order to help adults manage children. Think about it. You have this one adult who is responsible for 25 to 30 kiddos. They all come from different homes, backgrounds, and in order to get them to learn academics, you have to figure out how to manage their behavior. And so what adults decided to do was they said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to identify the qualities and behaviors that I personally value, and I'm going to reward you for that. So I may be an educator who says, I value stillness. I value you turning in work on time, being quiet, following directions. And if you do those things, you are more likely to get that A or B. But if you're someone who's a busybody, very talkative, missing assignments, you are more likely going to get the C, D, or F. But in doing so, you realize, wait, that's more about behavior, which yes, can be linked to academic learning, but not necessarily. There are nuances between that we have to pay a little bit more attention to. Additionally, in this article, which it is 2026, you guys, we already know this to be true. There is so much data and research supporting this. We know for a fact that report cards are used as a way to surveillance and track children as early as elementary school. We've heard of things like pipeline to prison, right? We know that grades are used to track children and to dictate what pathways are available to them as they progress in not only their academics, but their career choices as well. And then the last two things that were noted in the article were parental approval and external motivation, which my brain kind of takes and links together. As a small child, when you bring home those A's and B's, you are confident that you are going to receive approval from your parent. And as a kid, that feels really good. So that's an external motivator for children to get good grades. But again, not necessarily linked to academic learning. Let me give you guys just like a real life concrete example of kind of that ick feeling that we start to feel around report cards today. That feeling that makes us go, we need to start asking more questions about why we're doing things the way we're doing them. So when I fill out report cards, my kiddos get to see two things side by side. They'll see their letter grade, A, B, C, or D. And then right next to that, they'll get a mark. We'll call it, it's not really a letter grade, but they'll see an E for excellent, G for good, N for needs improvement, or a U for unsatisfactory. And that'll be in their citizenship. And those two letters are side by side. This, I kid you not, this is what has happened to me recently. I had someone look at one of my report cards and they said, "Oh, you made a mistake." I'm like, "Oh my God, where?" And they're like, "Well, this kid got a C in science, but you gave them an E for citizenship." Yeah, that's not a mistake. And they said, "Well, I don't understand. How could they possibly have a C, but they have an excellent for citizenship?" And I said, "Oh, because that kid did the very best that they could. I know that kid's journey. I know their effort. I know what they are capable of. And it doesn't mean that I'm going to lower the expectation for them. Academically, they didn't quite meet the mark, so they got a C. But I value all of these other things that went into them getting that C. For that kid, getting that C wasn't easy. They busted their butt for that C. And so therefore, for citizenship, they got an E for excellent next to it." That's what I mean when I say behavior is not necessarily an immediate indicator of academic learning. They may look different on paper, but we value them both. And not all report cards allow us to do that. And not all adults value both of those. Most adults go straight to those A, B, C's, and D's, and they ignore everything else. But what we're starting to learn and we're starting to feel is that that is very heavy on a child, and it's creating a lot of unnecessary anxiety around grades because as a society, we have started to over rely on grades. We have started to put too much emphasis and importance on grades, and we have kind of taken everything else and threw it in the back, and we're not paying enough attention to it anymore. And so I say all this to say, we're not going to take report cards and throw them out the window. We're not going to stop giving children grades. Instead, what I want us to do as adults is ask more questions. Instead of just looking at a kid's grade and coming to all of these immediate assumptions, ask their teacher questions. Ask for evidence of their work and their learning. Have them point out to the things that they are doing well, because those are the things that we want to focus on. We don't just want to tell a kid this grade, is a representation of you and your value and your worth, because that's not true. That is a narrative that we're starting to change. And articles like the one that I read that came out by Harvard in 2023, they are starting to open our minds to that, and for us to start saying, what can we start doing differently with report cards? Because we value both academic learning, but we also value other things as well. We value things like effort. We value things like motivation, internal motivation, not always external. Ask more questions, be curious, and give yourself grace, you guys.